Welcome back, Patriots, for another episode of the Bald Brad Show. It is officially Monday. We are heading towards the end of the month, and we are also heading into the first day of the DNC. And things were already wild yesterday, and it hadn't even kicked off yet. We have a jam-packed episode for y'all today, folks. I hope you had a lovely weekend, but heck, we got to jump right into things. If you haven't already, support us by hitting that like and subscribe button. Follow us over at Rumble. A lot of you are still saying you're being unsubscribed. You're not being notified on YouTube. If you head over to Rumble, folks, they do notify you about 1 minute or less after I go live. I even myself get the notification on my watch. So make sure you head over to Rumble. At least you know when we go live. You can also watch it on YouTube if you would like. Well, let's just kick it off with what the hell's going on at the DNC. So yesterday, they have battalions of police showing up. You never seen anything like it. It looked like that scene from The Dark Knight with Heath Ledger when there's just nothing but police going down the street, and then you got people showing up and just screaming when they're doing mic checks on the stage. Here's one example. This lady just gets on the stage and just starts screaming, you guys. Here we go. Look at this psycho.
Y'all can do better than that. Mike, the money!
150,000 people are dead. You are funding a genocide. The Harris-backed administration keeps funding money to Israel.
Yo, this is the Democrat Party for you, folks. Like I said, it hadn't even started yet, and they're already losing their shit. I mean, this is what Democrats America looks like. It really does. Here's another one. They're already protesting, you guys, taking to the streets for the Democrat Party. Remember, we're a threat to democracy. We're a threat to the institutions, to the republic. Here we go. So the thing is just terrible. The audio's terrible. But Killer Kamala, Ghazi's speaking. Okay. Oh, you think we're done? Here's Chicago, which is where the DNC is being held. And you have Democrats chanting, "Piggy, piggy, go back home, or we'll bring war home." I mean, they're holding Palestinian flags. These people are pro-Hamas, which is an insane thing to think about, that there's actual people taking to the streets supporting terrorism. Here we go.
Piggy, piggy, go back home.
These are all Harris supporters, you guys. This is what the Democrat Party has become. So if you're a police officer in Chicago, may the force be with you. This is the other angle I wanted to show you. Look at the amount of police, you guys. This isn't today. Please understand. The footage I'm showing you is from yesterday. Did you see this at the RNC? Did anybody see this in Milwaukee? Because we covered it live. Hell, we were even streaming at the RNC, which was news to us. Look what this is all about. This is wild. Democrats, everything's fine. Republicans are the extremists. We didn't have this. Look at the amount of police officers. It's funny, like, free Palestine. Isn't the Palestinians at upwards like 70% like pro-Hamas? Jeez. Well, Patriots, again, it's good to see all of you. I see you, Dizzy, Pat, PT302, Gavin. I see you, Dane. We got a lot of people also over at the YouTubes. The stream on YouTube is blowing up already. We got Karen Catmom, Sharon. We got Wrath in there. Take America Back. Amen to that. The Architect. We got Megan here. Brian. Kathleen. We got a lot of Patriots. Hit that like button, folks. It really does help people find us. And, well, you know how YouTube shadow banning us. A quick note. I was telling my wife this. I was sharing my analytics with ChatGPT. I have like the highest form of the paid version. And I was just giving a simple paragraph like what you guys are experiencing. Like, hey, we have 65,000 subscribers. We get about 500 to 800 views per video. My subscribers are being unsubscribed. Their comments are being deleted. They can't find my channel. They're not being notified. Do you think we're being shadow banned and or throttled? Yo, it went through. I got to find it. It went through and it was like, oh yeah, hey, You are being throttled. Yeah, it seems like that is the case of what's happening. Let me see if I can find it. Look at this. I have it right here. If you provide me a specific analytics, but based on the information you've shared, it does seem that there's a significant discrepancy, and that would indicate some form of throttling or algorithmic deprioritization. But you know, what the hell do I know? Anyway, speaking of somebody that doesn't have a clue, just like YouTube, Kamala takes the stage before a football game. And let me just read you what she says, and then I'll play it because it's so stupid. This lady is so stupid. God, I can't believe she said this. She said, quote, I'm not going to get it out. You will be undefeated even if you don't win every game.
And by doing that, and all that that requires, which is the hard work, the practice, working as a team, knowing that you will be undefeated even if you don't win every game, but...
Whoa. Hey, time out. Hold on. What'd you say really quick?
Even if you don't win, you will be undefeated even if you don't win every game. Knowing that you will be undefeated even if you don't win every game, but no circumstance or event or moment will defeat your spirit.
Oh God, it was too good. I had to, by the way, that was what I was going to lead with originally, but with all the stuff coming out of the DNC, I had to lead with the crazy psycho stuff and then lead you into the other crazy psycho stuff, which is what this lady says. There you go. Secret Agent says undefeated equals unburdened. Exactly correct. Wild stuff. Now, as you saw, with the police battalions already out for the DNC, which you didn't have at the RNC, you got massive protests. I mean, there was a few protests at the RNC. They're really small and kind of sporadic. I think after the Donald Trump assassination, none of these psychos wanted to F around and find out with the Secret Service. So now they're down there. And, well, they're building literal walls, you guys. They're building literal walls. Remember how we spent from 2016 to 2020 with the Democrats, specifically Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, fighting with Donald Trump, saying, walls don't work, Donald. That's her fixing her dentures. Walls don't work, Donald. But yet Nancy Pelosi has a fucking wall around her house. There's a wall around the Capitol. There's like a wall around everything. But they're fences. They're fences. So here they are, building actual walls. This comes from the New York Post specifically. Look at this. DNC are not just putting walls around the area. Folks, Chicago businesses are boarding up ahead of anti-Israel protests at DNC. We want to have maximum protection. Does this not... I mean, the reason why I also want to show this is because this is a big picture, but this is also what you're seeing in their cities. The crime, the smash and grabs, the looting. So here is down at the convention right here from a reporter from CBS News.
Behind me over my shoulder, you'll notice those fences and snowplows in place. We've actually watched all morning as they have started to bring in more metal fencing, more barricades, and these snowplows have been kind of navigating around those barricades and getting into place around the UC. Take a look at some of this video we got earlier this morning. You can see a lot of cars have been turning around already as they're met with these new closures that have...
But hold on, why would they turn around, guys? I see you, Patriots. Why would cars be turning around if walls and barriers don't work? Could they just kind of like go through them? I thought like, since they don't work, you could just kind of like osmosis, just kind of, or maybe mitos. I don't know which one it is. I can't remember. It's been a while since I had biology.
Been set in place overnight and early this morning.
I love democracy. Like, I wish I was going to the convention, but for the neighborhood, there's been like no communication and very little engagement of the people who are closest to it.
Oh, shocker. Whoa, sir, wait a minute. Hold on. Can we back that up? You mean that the Democrat Party doesn't give two bleeps about the people? The same party that didn't give two bleeps about taking the votes of the Democrats to see who their party nominee should be. And when they did actually voted for the guy, 14 million, you sat there and ran a coup to get the guy out of office and putting forth some lady that's full-fledged communist. Hold on, sir. Are you confused here? Because we don't even need to ask who he's going to vote for, right? He says he wishes he could be at the convention. Here we go.
This morning,
I love democracy. Like, I wish I was going to
this morning,
I love democracy. Like, I wish I was going to the convention. But for the neighborhood, there's been like no communication.
No communication. God, this sounds a lot like the Biden-Harris administration, sir.
And very little engagement of the people who are closest to it.
Oh, okay. Oh, sir, you think the Democrats really care what you think? No, if that was the case, you would have been able to vote for a nominee, but you didn't because they don't care about democracy. And quite frankly, neither do you if that's somebody who you're going to vote for or a platform, meaning Democrat Party.
The parking restrictions have changed 3 times in the last week on our block, and no one's like communicated to us that the protest route actually goes right in front of our building.
Oh, well, what's wrong with that? I mean, it's all peaceful, right? What's wrong with that? It's going to go right in front of your building. Again, guys, it's just peaceful. They're just out there. They just want a better life for Americans or Hamas or whoever.
and that resident telling us that most of the information he's gotten actually is coming from us or other local news outlets. He says his hopes are that over the next few days, there's more direct communication from area law enforcement or even from the Secret Service and really his.
Yeah, how about his own party? It's only local. Yeah, everything's local because the mainstream media doesn't want to sit there and show you what's actually going on there. Here's people boarding up their businesses.
Taking some precautions.
WGN's Andrea Medina shows you how some companies in the Loop are starting to board up ahead of the big event.
Given the uncertainty surrounding next week's convention, businesses are taking steps to prevent potential threats to their property like looting or vandalism by adding protection.
We've had zero indication that there would be any protections down in the Loop.
That's why the owner of Sid Jerome Menswear is reinforcing his downtown store by covering up the windows with plywood in anticipation of possible civil unrest and violent protests that may come from the Democratic National Convention next week.
Yo, this is supposed to be an opportunity for businesses to open up. That's why you bring it to your city, because not only does it highlight the city, you probably get a little bit of funding that goes into cleaning up your streets that are just absolutely disgusting, but also gives an opportunity for businesses to flourish for some short time because all of the people want to come to the DNC, and it's a great place where people can gather and harmony and do all these fun things like shop. But no, not with the Democrat Party. No, you can't even go to certain places because they're all boarded up now.
We know from past experiences that something could ensue, so we want to be
Wait, what? Do you mean January 6th? Or are you talking about how the Democrats burned down entire cities like Minneapolis and others with Black Lives Matter and Antifa? Sir, is that what you mean? Hold on. What do you mean? Can you be more specific here? Hold on.
From past
Democratic National Convention next week.
We know from past experiences that
what past experiences, guys? Weird. Because I remember we're the extremists. Huh.
Something could ensue. So we want to be proactive and get ahead of it.
The men's clothing shop is located on Madison Street, which is down the block from City Hall and along the main route to the United Center, where significant gatherings are expected. The owner hopes these measures will be sufficient to prevent potential damages and avoid a repeat of past incidents.
What, you notice that they never highlight past incidences? Do you notice that? Maybe they will here because I haven't seen this full clip. But it's weird because anytime we talk about January 6th, insurrection, January 6th, they were burning the Capitol down, this country was ending.
We've been a victim on 4 separate occasions where we've been vandalized or looted for, various incidents or events that happened in the city.
They're not alone in their concerns. The Chicago Board of Services says their crews have been...
You notice he's all calm? He'll still vote Democrat. All these people that board up their businesses, they're all going to vote Democrat, which is insane. Yeah, the guy sat there and stabbed me 6 times and shot me in the face, but I survived. And pro-Palestine, I love the Democrat Party. As a dude's face is still healing, half of it's gone. I'm beholden to the Democrats. My business was ransacked. I can't pay my bills. Rent's too high. Taxes are through the roof. But I'll still vote Democrat. Okay.
Been actively boarding up storefronts over the past few days to mitigate losses and destruction. So far, they've secured 12 locations around the West Loop, downtown, and Daly Center area.
Yeah. But don't worry, you guys. It's a really promising America with Democrats in control. Woo, baby. Now, here's Gretchen Whitmer, another psycho that really does not know how to run things. And she's Kamala Harris's campaign co-chair. And here she is, where they're talking about, on Meet the Press, giving driver's licenses, free college, and free health care to illegal aliens. Now, if you guys weren't aware, try to go back to our old videos like 2.5 years ago, when I'm talking early on about illegal immigration, early on in the Biden administration. And I freaking called it. I said in 4 years, we're going to spend upwards of $1 trillion on illegal immigration with Joe Biden in office. That was long before. Folks, we've spent $500 billion from 2020 to 2022. It's about $451 billion, and it's only gone up. And by the way, that's not everything. We've spent close to probably $1 trillion on illegal immigration under the Biden-Harris administration. But remember, we couldn't afford a border wall, you guys. No, how possibly could we afford a border wall? It's way too expensive.
Well, let me ask you about her running mate, Tim Walz, and particularly on the issue of immigration. Obviously, some of his policies in his state have come into focus. He signed into law initiatives allowing undocumented immigrants to apply for driver's licenses, free tuition at public universities, and enroll in the state's free health care program for low-income residents. Would you like to see the Harris administration adopt those same policies, Governor?
Well, I can tell you, Tim Walz is a pragmatic guy. He's a Midwesterner just like me, and I think some of the wonderful things he's done in Minnesota resonate with, Americans in all states.
Well, let me ask you about...
No, it doesn't. Please keep him out of the Oval Office, out of the please just keep him away as far as you can from any state, locality, people. The guy is crazy. And as you can see, it kind of got cut off there. But here's a little bit of an extended version and or different question, but it's all talking about the same thing.
Well, let me ask you about her running mate, Tim Walz.
I'll tell you, Tim Walz is a pragmatic guy.
Oh, so that cut off again. All right. Well, we have another one here, regardless, about how she's called for banning fracking, supporting single-pay health care, eliminating your private health insurance. There's a reason why today's title is called Communism with Kamala. You see what I did there? It's fine. It's fine.
When she ran in 2020, you will recall she called for banning fracking, supporting single-payer health care, eliminating private health insurance. The campaign says she no longer supports those positions. The Trump campaign, though, is calling her a chameleon. Do you think that Vice President Harris needs...
Kamala. She's a reed in the wind. She's changing her policies every single day. She used to support banning fracking. Kamala. She's for immigration, but for illegals. Kamala.
to do more to explain why she has shifted on those positions?
Well, I think...
By the way, I'm sorry to subject you guys all to that.
Insult from the Trump campaign is laughable when you think about his years in office and who he fought for.
When she ran...
By the way, I'm still cracking up over that song. I didn't even know what she said. Not that it matters. I'm sure it's some psycho stuff. So then she goes on and she asks, do you think Kamala's communist price control scheme is the best way to bring down prices in Michigan?
Other things, she's proposing a ban on price gouging. Here is what Obama administration economist Jason Furman had to say. He said, quote, "This is not sensible policy. And I think the biggest hope is that it ends up being a lot of rhetoric and not reality. There's no upside here, and there is some downside."
Wait a minute. Oh, pause, guys. This is not sensible policy. Yeah, no shit. Neither was anything they've done for the last 4 years. And I think the biggest hope is that it ends up being a lot of rhetoric and no reality. Democrats don't deal in reality, you guys. Remember, you could be a boy even though you're a girl, or if you're a girl, you could be a boy. You could just transition. Screw it. Reality is not a thing. No, not according to them.
He warned effectively that price controls could ultimately stifle economic growth. So do you think that's the best way to bring down prices in Michigan?
Well, I think people are reading too much into what has been put out there.
Among other things,
we're just reading too much into it. By listening to her words, we're not actually getting the true message, you guys. What's the true message? She's going to sit there and put in full-fledged communist ideas that have crippled countries time and time again for over the last 100+ years. I mean, okay. Hey. Let's go back to just the 60s. Go back to the 60s and let me know how that worked out with the Great Famine, the Cultural Revolution by Mao. You let me know how all that worked out, the Soviet Union. No, really great stuff. Let's just morph it down slightly. Let's be kind and say, look, she's not going to be doing communism. Let's say full-on socialism. Yeah, the last 100 years of socialism, the last 100 countries, rather, over the last, I don't know, let's say 60 years plus, slightly over, have all crumbled and crippled. And they talk about, well, there's Norway. There's the Nordic countries. Yeah, they got there's more people in Los Angeles than there is in those entire nations. It's a little bit different when you could run things a little bit smaller. Yeah, you could probably full-fledged do socialism, but they're still not socialist countries, actually. Even if you look at the data, they're more free than actual Americans are in terms of their economy. So you have Harris campaign co-chair. Again, Gretchen Whitmer said that the Biden-Harris, well, they're still partners in all this. Oh, okay. Well, thanks for letting us know. More ammo for us.
You believe that Vice President Harris should be doing more to distance herself from President Biden?
I think President Biden is going to go down as one of the greatest presidents we've had in a long time in this country. And Kamala Harris has been a big part of this administration. They've been partners. They've delivered for the American people. So,
wait, Gretchen. Sorry, Gretchen. I was laughing at that you're connected to them. Hold on.
I think we've got to tell a long time in this country. And Kamala, the greatest presidents we've had in a long time, and go down as one of the greatest presidents we've had in a long time in this kind of the greatest presidents we've had in a long time, and the greatest presidents we've had in a long time in this country. And
she said it with a smile. Oh.
And
I'm not going to make it through today's show, you guys. This is insane.
Kamala Harris has been a big part of this administration. They've been partners. They've delivered for the American people. So I think we've got they've been partners. They've delivered for the American people. So partners, they've delivered for the American people. And partners, they've delivered for the American people. And partners, they've delivered for the American people. So
yeah. Oh, they delivered for you guys. Oh, sure they did. Oh, yeah, they delivered 10 million illegal immigrants, 1,000 terrorists. You know what? Maybe she's right, you guys. They've really delivered for you. Oh, absolutely. Increased premiums in your health insurance. Yep. Increased prices at the grocery store and at the gas pump and your electricity bill. Oh, yeah, no, they delivered. Oh, absolutely. Oh, boy, could she have never been more right on that one, I suppose. Now, what's fascinating here is the administration is orchestrating a massive shell game when it comes to the border encounters there at the southern border. So check this out. After the U.S. Customs Border Protection released their border encounter numbers for July 2024, showing such numbers have surpassed 10 million. By the way, that's what we know about. Even if you were to double that number, you're looking at 20 million people pouring into this country. Let's be nice and say it's 15 million. Along with roughly 2 million known gotaways. So look, you have 10 million, the 2 million, plus the, well, what's the people that we don't know about since Joe Biden and Kamala Harris has taken office. But it's not a big deal, you guys. Don't worry about it. We've only spent $500 billion every 2 years for this. Despite the false narrative they're attempting to project, the unprecedented border crisis the president and his border czar have created continuous to rage on. This administration is orchestrating a massive shell game, encouraging otherwise inadmissible aliens to cross at ports of entry instead of between them, thereby creating a facade of improved optics for the administration. And we called this out long ago when he implemented a Trump policy, basically, that says you have to come through ports of entry. But as I mentioned, and John Kirby kind of highlighted this, the whole border is ports of entry. There's holes everywhere, thereby creating a facade, again, to improve the optics. But in reality, it's improving a growing burden on our communities. Total encounters at our ports, land, sea, and air are up exponentially this fiscal year compared to the Biden-Harris administration's first year in office, and are on track to surpass last year's total. You heard that correctly. Remember, but we were told immigration's down, you guys. Oh, it's down. Yeah, no, they got it solved. 70% of Venezuelans aren't coming. They figured it out, you guys. Oh, well, that's not what this says. Huh. Since January 2023, more than 1.28 million inadmissible aliens have been granted entry to our country at official ports of entry through just the CBP-1 and the CHNV mass parolee program Biden-Harris created. Almost $1 trillion. Can't even fathom that. But don't worry, guys. They got the budget under control. There's no spending. God forbid we try to build a new road or roads that actually look nice, maybe fix our subway systems that are crippling, maybe clean our streets, maybe funding like that, maybe some funding going to the veterans, get them off the streets, cleaned up a little bit. They got their priorities straight, you guys, big time. Now, speaking of illegal immigration and fentanyl, you got J.D. Vance here says the fentanyl crisis really took off under leadership of Biden-Harris. Absolutely correct.
You look at the actual data, the fentanyl crisis really, really took off under the leadership of Kamala Harris, under the border czar policies where she opened up the southern border, where fentanyl got completely out of control. And you talk to our law enforcement officers, and they will tell you that the fentanyl problem has gotten way worse in the last few years than it was at any previous time under any previous administration, Democrat or Republican. Now, look, we have an addiction epidemic that's been long running in this country, and I think more than any president in my lifetime, Donald Trump actually implemented policies to try to get this addiction problem cut down on. I mean, if you look at the number of overdose deaths and how they went down during Donald Trump's administration, and you look at Kamala Harris's administration where overdose deaths have skyrocketed, I think it's very easy to say, like so many other issues, the record of Donald Trump is one of success and American prosperity. The record of Kamala Harris is one of failure.
And if Kamala Harris comes out and goes, I'm going to fix the opioid crisis, I'm going to fix the fentanyl problem that we created. Folks, no, they're not. Democrats love this stuff. I've said it in California. They are giving homeless people alcohol. Homeless people that specifically struggle with alcohol problems, they're addicted, rather than having them go to the hospitals because they don't want the hospitals being overrun. They're actually just giving them alcohol so they don't sit there and have not a relapse, but problems, withdrawals. There you go. So they don't have withdrawals, but they're doing the same thing with people on drugs. So they're actually giving them free syringes and open areas to just do drugs illegally, just out there in the open. Democrats let that one sink in. People just vote, man. They vote Democrat. I don't understand it. Again, I get voting not at the top of the ticket for Donald Trump. I get that if you're a Democrat. You don't like the guy for some odd reason. I get it. But, you're going to go punch the ticket. They're going to fix everything. The same guy, we saw, right? The same guy at the beginning that was complaining about protesters going down the streets and that the Democrat Party wasn't communicating with him for putting barriers up in the parking situation. And the guy's just completely mind blown. I can't believe they wouldn't talk to me about this. I wanted to go to the DNC too and vote for her, but they're about to burn down my house, but I'll be there on November 5th. Go Kamala. So top House Democrat supports Harris price control plan. The experts warning will be a disaster. He doesn't care. You think he cares? Why do people think that these guys care?
Do you plan to support Vice President Harris's plan to ban price gouging?
Kamala Harris has articulated a very important plan to make sure that we are lowering costs for everyday Americans, that we are ending price gouging throughout the country, and that, of course, we are growing the middle class and making.
Who is price gouging? Let this sink in, you guys. If the economy's doing so great, again, there is an upwards trend in terms of the economy. Why are corporations price gouging? And as some of you mentioned, it's already illegal. But you notice they just throw stuff out there. They're price gouging. Who? Is it Kellogg? Is it the grocery stores just as a whole? Is it Johnson & Johnson? Who is it?
Making sure that everyday Americans can get ahead.
Maybe not pump the economy full of trillions of dollars, you idiot. Or put forth an Inflation Reduction Act that doesn't actually reduce inflation. How about you sit there and drill a little bit, rather than kowtowing to the small population of Americans that go, the environment. With the technology we have, really? Where nuclear is the most cleanest energy you could produce? Well, you gotta ruin things. They'll never get it. They'll never get it. Now, what I love, speaking about inflation, is J.D. Vance is coming out and going, well, Kamala Harris's control of inflation policy is like giving Jeffrey Epstein control of trafficking policy. Well, Democrats would do it, J.D. Don't give them any ideas. They might find another Epstein.
The American people just don't buy the idea that Kamala Harris, who has been vice president for 3.5 years, is somehow going to tackle the inflation crisis in a way tomorrow that she hasn't for the past 1,300 days. Giving Kamala Harris control over inflation policy, Shannon, it's like giving Jeffrey Epstein control over human trafficking policy. The American people are much smarter than that. They don't buy the idea that Kamala Harris represents a fresh start. She is more of the same. It is doubling down on the failed policies of the Harris administration to give Kamala Harris a promotion rather than to fire her, which is what I think most Americans are going to do on November.
Let's hope, JD. Let's hope, man, but I don't know. It's razor thin margins. We'll see what happens here. Democrats aren't really interested in hearing what she has to say. Nobody's showing up to her rallies. The stuff that people do show up on, they actually pay for. I was listening to Anthony Brian Logan's podcast the other day, and he was talking about, and he kind of made it a joke of like, oh, well, she's just going to hire actors to come in and fill the seats. And I told him in the live chat, I'm like, no, man. Like, they are actually putting in casting notices that I could see from my end. Remember, I'm part of the Screen Actors Guild. I could see the casting notices online. They're paying like $150 for people to go to these events. It's all fake. It's all fabricated. And that's why we did the show last week saying that the media is completely sitting there and reinventing Kamala Harris's image. It is all fake. None of it is real, which is mind-blowing what you could do in terms of a country of sitting there making somebody a celebrity out of nothing. She is nothing. She has no policy. She has no brain cells. She can't sit there and actually speak coherently to the point where people are saying that she's drunk all the time and that she's an alcoholic, which I don't think is true, but she sounds like it. But again, I don't believe she's an alcoholic and that she's going out drunk. Eric Birch, thank you so much. Good morning, Brad and Patriot. My Patriot family, to be specific. Thank you, sir. You got $2. Look at the Patriot family there. I love that. That's what we are, right? We're just a family of Americans, patriots that want better for this country. So she admits, oh my God, everybody saw this. This went viral. I mean, everybody saw this. It might be one of the best ads I've ever seen from a former president, even sitting president, doesn't matter. Kamala Harris admits groceries cost more under Biden-Harris admin than during Trump era. Yo.
As president, I will take on the high costs that matter most to most Americans, like the cost of food. We all know that prices went up during the pandemic when the supply chains shut down and failed. But our supply chains have now improved, and prices are still too high. A loaf of bread costs 50% more today than it did before the pandemic. Ground beef is up almost 50%. As president, I will take on the high costs that matter most to most Americans, like the cost of food.
Now, folks, if you're just curious what I'm doing, I'll just, carry the 1, drop the 2 over. Lady, you're in office now. Today is August 19th. Yeah, you're still vice president. You could solve this now, or day 1, 3.5 years ago. Yeah, you could do it or could have done it. I think she forgot, you guys, that she's vice president. I think she forgot. As you saw, food's just too high. Yeah, you caused it, you dimwit, or at least played a part into it. So we're gonna sit there and stop companies from creating a price that was established by the free market because they're price gouging. But yet you have Microsoft laying off 10,000 people. Amazon's here's 12,000. All these tech companies are laying people off. Manufacturing's going to different countries, but they're price gouging, you guys. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Now, it wasn't just her coming out over the weekend espousing a bunch of nonsense. You also had this communist slob, Timmy Walz, claims border czar Kamala Harris is tough on predators and transnational gangs. You guys, they're allowing millions of people to pour across the country, and some of them are raping and killing Americans and children, specifically ours.
She's the one who took on the predators and the fraudsters. She's the one that took on the transnational gangs. She's the one who took on...
Do you see the people behind him just all for, hey, she sat there, went after predators? How many articles have we covered just in the last week alone that talks about people raping 12-year-olds, 3-year-olds, 8-year-olds? Like, what are you talking about? They've only exacerbated the problem. Like, what? And here he is again saying, oh, you know what? We're gonna sit there and lower your costs. And they're just sitting there believing it.
Yesterday, Vice President Harris rolled out a plan to start building an opportunity economy during our first 100 days in office.
Democrats, she could do it now.
Cutting taxes, not for the billionaires, but for the folks in this room in the middle class.
Yo. She says she wants to increase your taxes. Everybody in that crowd, they're removing the Trump's tax cuts. They're so please give me one like brain cell of power. I swear there's more power, ladies, in your blow dryer than there is in Tim Walz and everybody in that arena combined. There is more energy coming out of your refrigerator than there is in terms of power than brain cells coming from these people. Huh.
Taking on those who will price gouge at the grocery stores and other stores.
But they don't want to name them. Who is it, please? I don't like price gouging. I think it should be enabled and allowed. Not that I don't want to go pay more for prices of goods. But you know what? If they're price gouging and people are buying it, well then, clearly it's not price gouging them because they're just meeting the level of market price that the market is saying that people would sit there and buy that good or service. That's how capitalism works. So if they're price gouging, then guess what? Maybe people shouldn't buy the product so they have to lower prices, because if you're not selling product, you're not going to have a fucking business. And if you have a business, how are you going to feed your family? I mean, that's very basic form, right? But you understand what I'm saying.
Lowering the cost of rent and the opportunity to own your own home. Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. You know what? Again, I pay rent, you guys, but I don't think the government should have any business in dictating what a landowner should be able to offer somebody else in terms of rent to a tenant. I don't think the government should have any involvement in that type of negotiation between one person and another. There's not many places where the government has that type of involvement when you're making a transaction and a contractual agreement. If I say rent's going to be $3,000 and that's pricey for you and you can't afford it, but yet you still agree to come into a contract for that $3,000, well, then what's the problem? It was two grown consenting adults and families that said, hey, you know what? I'm going to charge you $3,000 a month for a lease of 1 year. And that's what it is. If you couldn't afford it, then why'd you sign on a dotted line? There's this constant theme here for some odd reason that people get all up in arms when somebody can't afford something, but yet you signed on the dotted line for that said affordability of something. Like, for example, if I couldn't pay my rent and I couldn't afford anywhere else in California, guess what I'd have to do? I'd have to move. Many of you said you work multiple jobs. So do I. I've said it for 3 years. You guys, this is not a job. This is just a hobby. I have fun doing it. If you think that we're making a ton of money on this, I've told you how much we make some days. Some days on these videos, we make 6 cents. Okay? It's not like we're killing it here. This is not my job, all right? So I'm right there with all of you. I have to work too, multiple jobs. But if I can't afford to live here, then what do I have to do? I may not like it. Yes, I got to get up and move. I would love to afford a home. But in California, when you have a cracker box worth $800,000, it's just not feasible. So this is a great ad here by the Trump campaign about Kamala Harris. Enough of me ran.
I am radical. We need to get radical about what we are doing and take it seriously. As President of the United States, I am prepared to get rid of the filibuster to pass a Green New Deal. There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking.
We have to have a buyback program, and I support a mandatory buyback program.
I believe it will totally eliminate private insurance.
Let's eliminate all of that.
But would you support changing the dietary guidelines?
Yes.
You know, the food pyramid. What people
Yes. Yes.
to reduce red meat specifically.
Yes, I would.
Raise your hand if your government plan would provide coverage for undocumented immigrants.
And it keeps going. We did show this last week, but that's just going to cripple the economy, folks. I mean, things aren't looking good in terms of the economy, and you got to make sure you protect yourself. Make sure that portfolio is diversified. And so we recently had some monumental news that one is talking about for the first time ever, you guys, interest on the U.S. pays for that debt surpasses every individual budget item except Social Security. We have $35+ trillion in debt. That's right. The U.S. now spends more on interest than on the actual national defense or even Medicare. And it's only getting worse as big government continues to spend recklessly. And if you think it's bad now, wait till a psycho gets in office that's a full-fledged commie and Marxist ideas. That's why savvy Americans are turning to gold, folks. If we have a massive turnout in terms of the economy collapsing, a lot of people think we're going to trade and barter with gold, silver, and copper, again, these precious metals, something that's not tied to the inflated dollar. You too can help with going to Birch Gold Group. For over 20 years, Birch Gold has helped tens of thousands of Americans protect their retirement, their savings, by converting an IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold. To learn more, go to birchgold.com/rumble and get a free, there's no obligation info kit on diversifying your retirement into IRA gold. Folks, it's absolutely free. You don't have to pay for anything here. Birch Gold has earned an A+ rating for the Better Business Bureau and thousands of happy customers. Protect your IRA or 401k. Go to birchgold.com/rumble to get your free info kit on gold today, folks. Check them out. Make sure that portfolio is diversified so you are taken care of. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Now, here she is again, talking about how the housing market can be complicated. But look, I'm not new to this issue. Oh, no, you're not, Kamala. Oh, that is for sure.
So now, the housing market can be complicated, but look, I'm not new to this issue. So now...
Of course you're not. Just like you're not new to the illegal immigration, the terrible foreign policy, the Afghanistan pullout, where they actually did a parade last week, showing off billions of dollars of military-grade equipment that Kamala and Biden left them. Yeah, we can go down the laundry list of things they've done to crumble things. So she admits that the American dream is just out of reach. Well, not for illegal immigrants. No, that's not out of reach. But for actual Americans that are here, yeah, it is.
And sadly, right now, it is out of reach for far too many American families. There's a serious housing shortage. In many places, it's too difficult to build, and it's driving prices up.
Why is it too difficult to build? Could it be the regulations that Democrats are imposing upon builders? Maybe. Just maybe. I'm not saying there shouldn't be some sort of regulation or some red tape to make sure your house doesn't fall on your freaking head. But you understand what I'm talking about. It's as if there's no wherewithal of like, I'm vice president now. There's a seal of the office of the vice presidency on my podium. And I'm talking to you to your face about how I destroyed everything and somehow I'm going to fix it. These people are just listening, and is it not remarkable? Like, don't you all just want to walk up to these people and just kind of like knock on their head? Hello, McFly. Hello. And go, you do realize she's vice president now. A lot of this stuff, she could just work with her teammate because they're a team, according to Queen Jean-Pierre, that they could just solve this now. Don't you just wish, like I said, the Marty McFly, right? Michael J. Fox from Back to the Future with Biff. Hello, McFly. Hello. Thank you, Tarbox, so much, Jason. I appreciate it. $5. Great show and great Patriots. Love that. Thank you so much, man. You guys really do keep the lights on here. Greatly appreciate it. You know, we make 6 cents, but this helps us make a little bit more per episode, which all goes back into it. I greatly appreciate that. Don't get me on the rant with what I've been dealing with on YouTube with trying to get advertisements. Don't get me going. I don't want to get riled up, man. That pissed me off yesterday. So, you know, you got me pissed off now. Not you, Jason. You understand what I'm talking about. I take your guys' money, right, and my money too, and I put it back in advertisements. I've put in 4 applications for election policy to be able to run my show because we talk about politics out there so we can gain more traction. And since they're suppressing our channel, I can force it by paying for it to get my videos out there to new viewers. They are dodging me at this point, you guys. I put in 4 applications. They won't answer it. They won't do it. I've had conversations with them. They're doing everything they can not to allow us to grow here. It pisses me off, man. At least give me a fighting chance. You know what I mean? If you're going to sit there and fuck me over left and right, YouTube, at least give me a chance by allowing me to run ads. Hell, you're taking my money and my Patriots' money, but they won't even do that anymore. So, folks, we're waiting to try to get those rolling. We'll see if they allow us to do it. It's remarkable that I've been trying to do this for the last 6 months. It pisses me off, man. It really does. It's messed up. So anyways, we got Kamala Harris saying a loaf of bread costs 50% more than it did before the pandemic.
A loaf of bread costs 50% more today than it did before the pandemic.
And Trump ran his ad on that. That's all he did. And Trump goes, I approve this message. And then she goes on saying, we will make those homes actually go to working and middle-class families. You folks, when she talks about the housing crisis that we're having here, she's going to give illegals $25,000 to buy homes, not Americans, illegal.
And we will make sure those homes actually go to working and middle-class Americans. And
all these people behind her. Everybody behind Kamala right now. Hey, yeah, when you allow 15 million people to come into the country illegally just during the last 3.5 years, plus the 20 million that were already here illegally, so you're about talking 30 million people roughly. Well, if they're sitting there competing for the same house or rental unit that you are, and that increases demand for property, of which you're competing against somebody that shouldn't be here in the first place, what's going to happen to prices? Yeah. Oh, you bet your tushy, they go up. And these people behind her, they don't get it. That they're competing on all fronts with illegal immigrants that shouldn't be here in the first place. There's a housing crisis. It's astonishing that she's going to get like 70 to 85 million votes. They'll probably get the popular vote, right? I mean, Democrats haven't had the popular vote in quite some time. I know it sounds remarkable. Brad, how could you say that? Trump is great. Trump is great. I'm voting for him again. But just because we think he's great and that we understand, because you guys are all informed, you understand everything I'm saying. You just are listening to me rant and rave because I'm freaking frustrated. Like, we get it as patriots. Trust me, I understand you guys know all this. I'm right there with you. I'm just bringing the receipts. But the Democrats don't. They don't get the illegal immigration. They're not. I'm not saying every Democrat, right? Please understand, that's obvious. But there's people out there that aren't involved in politics, and this is all they hear. I'm going to give you tax cuts. I'm going to fix illegal immigration. We didn't do this. It's Republicans' fault. Republicans are stopping it from being fixed. Republicans this, they're extremists. That's all they hear. There's no like, hey, let me just go ahead and just fact check you. Let me like do my side research here. They don't have time, some of them. They got kids to raise, you know what I mean? They're busy, they're working multiple jobs because you got Democrats destroying it and then lying to them. So here she is. The face of communism.
That's on top of the $2 trillion tax cut. That's on top of the $2 trillion tax cut. He already signed into law when he was president. That's on.
Yes. Yes, he did give us tax cuts. Kamala has saved average Americans, like all the patriots, including myself in here, about 3%, unless for some reason we jumped up into the next tax bracket, which isn't necessarily a bad thing because that means your income actually increased. But not a big deal. Not a big deal. So enough of Kamala for a second. Can we just get somebody here that actually has common sense?
But our message is going to be very simple. If you want to get back to the peace and prosperity, the rising take-home pay, Donald Trump delivered it once and he can do it again. If you want to double down on the failed policies that have delivered higher food prices and higher housing prices, well, Kamala Harris has been vice president for 3.5 years, and I guarantee she's going to make the problem worse if the American people give her a promotion.
So
the thing we have to remember, one final point, let me just say one final point on this, Shannon, because I think it's important. Consistently, what you've seen in 20 2016 and 2020 is that the media uses fake polls to drive down Republican turnout and to create dissension and conflict with Republican voters. I'm telling you, every single person who's watching this, the Trump campaign is in a very, very good spot. We're going to win this race. We just have to run through the finish line.
I just want to point something out. That's her rally. Do you see these people right here in front of the camera, like directly right in front? That's only 3 rows, you guys. There was like 200 people at this rally for Kamala. When they sit there and they have no support in North Carolina, even though they were willing to pay people to go to these events, and they can't fill up a middle school gymnasium. I am not kidding. If you saw the photos of this, you are looking at it. There's a reason why that shot of her talking that we've been showing time and time again is so zoomed in, because this is what it looks like zoomed out. And some of the media won't zoom out because they want to make it seem like it's filled. It's all freaking fake. It's not legit. You also have CNN here, specifically a guy named Matt Gorman, says the new program Kamala proposed is far left price controls, essentially. So these next few clips are going to be talking about her and how she wants to implement price controls and her economic plan, her policy. It's basically going to cripple the United States, but Democrats are going to go, let's do it. This is awesome.
Things. I think number one, she took a lot of far left positions during her first run in 2019 and 2020. She has, temporarily kind of moderated these through some anonymous quotes from aides saying, well, she doesn't really want to ban fracking anymore. She doesn't want to do this, doesn't want to do that. This new program that she's kind of doing is pretty far left, $25,000, price controls, essentially. That's number one. But the other thing is, kind of conveniently forgot she was vice president for the last 4 years when a lot of the housing market crisis was at its worst, when inflation was at its worst. So there's a lot of memory holding that. But look, when it comes to the $25K, I mean, you just added $25,000 into every price.
Yo, who is this guy? Look at this guy right here. Who's this guy, Dan? You have a show? Wow, aren't you cool? Were you bored playing marbles with your friends or playing cowboys and Indians? You are a child. I'll tell you what, it's odd that a Democrat's talking about children. It's really weird. Joe Biden sniffs children, and Democrats are allowing children to be raped and killed, but he's talking about children to all of us, you guys. He was somewhere else in here. Here he is. Triggered. Your delusion comes from reflexive, snappy comebacks. Right in the box. Haha. I love when the left comes in here. I told you guys, they come in. They say asinine things. There's not a single comeback this guy has said in terms of what we've shown that's wrong. You guys all see this tool. Now, is he talking about me? I think so. Or he's talking about Kamala Harris. I can't tell which one. I can't. I love it. I love when they come in because it just shows who they are. Oh, he's back. Real Americans don't need this bleep. I have no idea why this crap popped up on my feed. Ease up on the testosterone, boys. Josh Hawley would know a real man. God, you guys are entertaining. Hey, Dan, we love having you in here, buddy. Maybe you'll actually get some truth in you once and for all. It's been a while. But Dan, just give us a few reasons in the chat for all us patriots on why you're going to go vote for Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. I want to point out everybody, Dan, stick around for a bit because you're about to get your ass kicked. Hey, Dan, before I knock your teeth in with what I'm about to say, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button because we would really want you to join the community here. Hey, Dan, just go ahead and tell us how Kamala Harris and Joe Biden fixed the economy. Tell us how you have to make $15,000 or more under Joe Biden and Harris than you did under Donald Trump. Tell us how you enjoy paying higher health care premiums because of Kamala Harris. Tell us you enjoy paying increased interest rates on mortgages for Americans all across the country. Tell us how you love having the Afghanistan pullout and giving billions of dollars of military-grade equipment to the Taliban, of which killed Americans for the last 2 decades. Tell us how you enjoy pulling out of Afghanistan and allowing the men and women to ultimately be raped in various cases and also be murdered, being thrown in cells and dipped into pools and ultimately drowned alive. Hey, Dan, tell us how you enjoy allowing these terrorists to receive $10 billion of humanitarian aid from the Biden-Harris administration. Hey, Dan, why don't you go ahead and tell us how you love paying increase in electricity, grocery prices, because your party doesn't want to sit there and actually allow fracking and increase drilling. Hey, Dan, go ahead and tell us how minimum wage increase really helps the localities. Hey, Dan, tell us how those smash and grabs are really working out for Southern California in terms of if you don't steal anything under $950 or less, nothing happens to you. Hey, Dan, tell us how those no cash bails really work out for those Americans that are murdered, raped, and killed by those criminals that were allowed out by Democrats. Hey, Dan, tell us how that taxation is really going to work out when Kamala Harris wants to impose 70 to 90% of taxes upon American citizens. Hey, Dan, tell us exactly how it's helpful that the Iranians are sitting there receiving all this funding from the Biden-Harris administration, but yet they're supporting the Houthis blowing our merchant vessels out of the sea. Hey, Dan, why don't you go ahead and tell us the fact that the Biden-Harris administration is giving the Taliban $87 million of our money that's ultimately going to funding terrorism across the globe. Hey, Dan, tell us how the Biden-Harris administration has allowed over 1,000 illegal aliens to cross the country illegally. That's going to harm your family as well as my family. Hey, Dan, explain all those things to me that I just pulled off the top of my head of what you're going to vote for. But don't worry, we're triggered, you guys. We don't know what the hell's going on. We're saying a bunch of nonsense in here. We don't have a damn clue. Hey, Dan, let's just go a step further. Screw the show for a second because I want to highlight this crap. Hey, Dan, explain to me why your own party has to sit there and board up businesses for the Democratic National Convention over the weekend. Explain to me why you allowed your party to burn down our city, specifically black businesses in Minneapolis and other. Explain to me why you allowed the Democrat Party to take entire city blocks like Chop and Chaz that we saw in Portland, Oregon, and just take it over where people are allowed to do drugs, murder each other, as well as gang rape one another. Explain to me that one. Explain to me why Biden is so lax on the terrorism that's taken across the globe, where these people are sitting there burning live babies at the stakes, having the mother watch it, and then once the baby's dead and crisp, having the mother eat it in front of everybody else, and then they're going to gang rape her after they eat her baby. Explain that one to me, Dan. But don't worry, you guys, we're just triggered. We don't know what the hell's going on here. Our mind is completely out there because we don't deal in reality. Hey, Dan, explain to me why your party's getting vasectomies and abortions in a fucking motorhome at the DNC. Explain that one to me. Hey, Dan, go ahead and explain to me while your party is crippling this country and you're being lax on China after they just gave a COVID-19 Wuhan virus to the rest of the globe and shut everything down and crippled the average American. And again, now you have to make more money under Joe Biden than you did under Donald Trump just to break even. Explain to me why people are struggling to buy homes. Explain to me why the illegal immigration is so bad in this country that now you've not only inflated our own country, but you inflated foreign countries because they're coming here and sending their money back and affording homes back then. That's causing the price to alleviate, or rather I said increase, in other countries. So I think we can end it there, folks. Should we keep going? Should we keep going? I don't know where Dan's at. I told Dan I was about to kick his teeth in, but he ain't here. So I don't know. So you ran out of stuff to talk about when I showed up. I did not talk. It's just amazing, isn't it, you guys? Mod Whistle, thank you so much for the $4.99. Clearly that rant was for it. Hey, just to show real quick, this guy said I'm out of content. You guys see all those bars up there? We're not even close to being out of content. We're almost out of time is what we are. Oh, I love when the left comes in. It's the great. That is content, Dan. Thank you so much, sir. Greatly appreciate it. We had a guy like you in our forensic unit. He was a Trump nut. The woman didn't like him, perhaps because he had maybe 4 women with restraining orders. Thanks for the spotlight. You got it, Dan. Hey, thanks for joining us, man. It's greatly appreciated. Speaking of other, here's more stuff from CNN. Oh, that was fun. Thank you, Dan. That actually made my day. My day. Thank you.
I read your piece and I heard you just mention it. The federal ban on price gouging for groceries. You are skeptical of this. Why?
Well, first of all, nobody can explain what price gouging means. It's like that old line about pornography. I know it when I see it, in the sense that what does it mean to have an excessive price or an excessive product?
Look, Dan's not a loser. Some of you will say he is. I see his servant. He's just lost, you guys. Look, he's an average American just like we are. Look, all jokes aside, Dan, I hope you wake up, man. I really do. Because look, even if you don't like Trump, I get that, but the fact that you're willing to go out of your way to vote for Joe and Harris, or rather just Harris, because you can't vote for Joe anymore because your party didn't allow it to happen. Remember, you guys gave 14 million votes to Joe, and somehow your party didn't care what you thought, and so they propped up Kamala.
Profit margin. That seems to be shorthand for a price or a profit margin that bugs me. That seems too high. So, it's very hard to pin down what this would actually mean. If you look at the legislation that, as I mentioned, is already in the Senate, led by Senator Warren and Senator Bob Casey and a slew of others, the particular way that this is written.
So sorry. I can't do this. Mud Whistle writes, Dan wears loafers without socks.
Which is likely to be the template for any proposal that Harris would eventually embrace, is especially bad in that it just bans excessive prices, grossly excessive profit margins, and says that the Federal Trade Commission can use any metric it deems appropriate to decide what that would mean. Which basically says, like, right. It's not going to be markets, it's not going to be supply and demand that's determining how much your grocery store charges you for milk or for eggs. It's going to be some bureaucrat in D.C., which seems like totally unworkable, first of all, for the...
All right, so she keeps rambling. I don't know what the hell she said. I blame it on Mud Whistle. I lost my train of thought. I had an out-of-body experience with that. All right, folks, you know that we have to do a hard out at 7 a.m. Greatly appreciate it. Honestly, Dan, thank you for coming in, man. You're more than welcome to come in here anytime. He says you're in a trance. I recognize you in reality are probably the same kind of guy. Actually, I'm not. I'm more introverted, believe it or not. I'm actually a really quiet person. Hey, how did you know I wear loafers without socks? Feels good. Well, it's also might feel good, but also probably really stinky. But Dan, thank you for coming in. I really do appreciate it. I'm not joking right now. Thank you for coming in, because I think it's important that we have people on the other side of the aisle popping in. The last guy that came in that was a Democrat, Dan, just to let you know, was JWE, and now he's a registered Republican, allegedly. I don't know if that's true or not, but JWE was in here, and we did the same thing to him. He got red-pilled, man. But would love to have you in here nonetheless. You're more than welcome to hang out with the Patriot community, and I really do mean that. And the Patriots, I think, would hopefully agree with me that you're more than welcome to come in. Even if you want to say nonsense, we back free speech, brother. With that being said, folks, always hit that like and subscribe button. Thank you for all the donations that we've had today. Greatly appreciated. The content that we didn't get to, we got a lot more up here at the top right. It just keeps going. We'll make sure we bring you that tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Always appreciate the love and kindness you guys show me, and let's show Dan. Thanks for coming in. Greatly appreciate it. And with that being said, folks, I'll see you tomorrow here on the Ball Brad Show. Take care, Patriots.